Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about another Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon show. Now look, last time, of course, we talked about the OG, the original Yu-Gi-Oh. If you haven't watched that, then go check that out after this video. But now I'm going to talk about, in my personal opinion, the best Yu-Gi-Oh series. I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh GX. Now look, I'm not gonna cap with you, this show was gas. Yu-Gi-Oh GX is easily my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh of the series. And compared to the original, this was the first of its kind to have a dueling focused school, which of course paved the way for others such as Arc V and Zexal. But spoiler alert, because we're not there yet, GX simply did it first and better. Now before we get into anything else, we need to start off with the characters. I argue that GX has not only the best protagonist character, but also some side characters too. The most glaring thing is you have the character Jaden Yuki, who looks obviously different compared to the rest of the other protagonists. I don't know how far ahead this was actually planned. I mean, Jaden looks like a regular character. You know what I'm trying to say? No crazy, insane hairdo. Also, Jaden at first was not considered a good duelist. You see, Jaden was first placed within the lowest rank within the classes. Now, how did that happen even though he had to duel people and he stays winning? I really don't know. But Jaden was simply here to duel, and also his cards were very fun to watch. I mean, compared to a lot of other characters within Yu-Gi-Oh, Jaden was one of those guys that could have multiple elemental monsters and they can fuse with one another. As a child, this is one of the most amazing things ever. They're heroes and they can practically fuse with any other hero to make a superhero. I mean, goodness gracious dude, the original Yami Yuki, you have nothing on this. But besides me gaslighting Jaden, he's not the only cool character we had in the story. I'm looking at Zane Tuesdale, who used cyber dragons, which is pretty cool, dragons that are cyber. Alexis Rhodes for, obvious reasons. And there's just so many other characters here that you'll simply love. Plus, because they were going to school, usually when you saw someone with a better jacket, you want to see the lower rank win. So as soon as we had that amazing duel with Jaden Yuki versus Zane, that was crazy. This Yu-Gi-Oh series was set up for success, and they really didn't change much for the game. I mean, most characters use fusion, however, this was actually introduced in the first series. The other type of fusions that were also added, such as super polymerization as well as miracle fusion, but it is still a fusion, you're still making purple cards. So it's so interesting to see that nowadays they have to make a new type of card for people to be interested. But when it came to GX, they just decided to use more fusions. And look, every character here is raw. I mean, there's not a single time where I think this character is not cool or at least will not have a moment somewhere. And I'm even talking about other characters from other schools. Jaden to me is easily the best protagonist, and that includes his elemental heroes. It's one of those childhood dreams of having you play with heroes inside a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. But then they start introducing other characters with a similar parallel to Jaden Yuki. I'm talking about Aster Phoenix, who has destiny heroes. And even though he is this pretty boy that never lost, he uses these heroes that seem to be evil. Another character I think about is Jesse, who is even a closer parallel to Jaden. I mean, they even have a fusion card together. Honestly, Jesse could have easily been a protagonist himself if they chose to make him one. And honestly, they should have made more Crystal Beasts than they actually did in the series. And while I am fantasizing about the Crystal Beasts and the Destiny heroes, I haven't even talked about the evil heroes. Matter of fact, I'm talking about the evil heroes, Neo-Spacians, everything. They simply didn't miss. Even your side characters have some great cards. When it comes to everyone's deck and what they synergize around, I think this is easily the best. Of course, as I say that, there's also another side of Yu-Gi-Oh players. I'm talking about the competitive side of Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, the competitive scene is not for everybody, and I completely understand, so I'll keep it pretty brief. In today's meta, there's not too many great cards when it comes to GX. And it's simply because nowadays, characters' cards are more based off of who they are as a character compared to them being viable. For example, Cyrus is specifically using Roid characters. I would be absolutely shocked if I ever saw a Roid deck in competitive. With that being said, it doesn't mean that there's still not some times when a card may show up. And it does seem that Konami wants to do their best to try to keep these old decks relevant. I mean, I saw not too long ago that they released a evil hero Neos. And I'm talking about within this fiscal year too, which is kind of odd. I mean, it's great for all the people that love heroes, however, you know there's not more GX content. So it tells me they're doing their best to try to keep some of these older players and deck creators invested, which is completely great, and I think Yu-Gi-Oh will always need that. It's just the series has evolved very far past what GX used to be. So let's go ahead and jump back to the anime. Now, even though I have been glazing GX with their characters and stories, does not mean that it's all perfect. I did my own due diligence and did some more investigation on what the community is saying and got a little bit of help from this place. Spooky, I know, but honestly, people are truthful here. And you see, I have to agree with a lot of the different points that I saw. There's a total of 2 huge negatives I have with GX. The first one not as bad as the second. And the first one is the pacing of the story. It takes a very long time for this show to pick up. And honestly, I don't think the show really picks up until about the time when Jaden sees his Neospatians, which about 15, 20, 30, even maybe 50 episodes is fine. But I mean, gosh, it is a lot of episodes. And I get it, there's even other shows that take even longer to get to the point. But it's very difficult because you can tell that GX is really focused on showing characters and new elemental fusions. Once Jaden starts to run out of them, it's time to plug in some new Neospatians or some evil heroes. And honestly, that leads into my second issue. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX focuses on Jaden Yuki way too much. Now look dude, that hurt my heart to say, but it is honestly true. The whole cast needs to wait for Jaden. I took a little look at how often Jaden wins within the series, and his win rate is very high. And while you watch the series, you'll feel as if it's actually higher compared to this number you see here. It just seems as if Jaden duels a little bit too much. And partially it's because they're trying to show you new fusions, or maybe they just want to have Jaden have different types of heroes. But eventually, by the time you get to Yubel, the main character of the story, it feels kind of odd. I mean, we're ending the story off with another Jaden Yuki conflict. Has he not solved enough already? It's hard, and even when Jaden ends up fusing with Yubel in the very end, you feel as if it's not satisfying. I mean, it's kind of cool to see the story that she was a forgotten card and he kind of got into heroes because he's a kid, but I don't know if this was the best way just to fuse him with Yubel at the very end. Because instead of having your side characters do something and stopping Yubel, he just ends up fusing with her and that's just it. I don't know, I love this anime, I seriously do, but if there is ever a rewrite, it needs to be some changes. But let me get off the hate train because I still want to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! GX to me is still the best of its kind. And I still cross my fingers to this day to have some type of rewrite for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Those new Yu-Gi-Oh! People, they simply don't know what it used to be like. With that, that's my opinions about Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Let me know yours in the comments down below. And also I told you to go watch the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Video I did on this channel here, so